The ship shook violently. Valeris gripped the control panel, her blue fingers sliding across the worn metal. Warning lights flashed red across the small bridge. Behind her, she heard her daughter's whimper. "Hold tight," she called to them, keeping her voice steady despite her fear. Just a little longer. The stolen maintenance vessel was never meant for deep space travel. It was old, small, and now failing in a dozen different ways. Valeris knew this when she took it, but she had no choice. Death was better than watching her daughters be taken away. Nima, her oldest at 12 cycles, sat with her 3 younger sisters in the cargo area. They huddled together on blankets Valeris had hastily grabbed during their escape. Nima held 6-cycle-old Tella on her lap, while Kira and Mira, the 9-cycle-old twins, clung to each other. "Mother, they're still following us," Nima said, looking at the small radar screen she monitored. Valeris had taught her daughters many things forbidden to females on their world. Valeris checked her own screen. 3 Zentari Patriarchy warships still pursued them, closing the gap with each passing moment. Her people's military vessels were fast and deadly. Her small ship stood no chance if they caught up. "Into the asteroid field," she muttered, steering toward the dense cluster of space rocks ahead. It was dangerous, but it might slow their pursuers. As they entered the field, Valeris weaved between massive spinning rocks. Her hands moved quickly, drawing on skills she had secretly learned over many years. On Zentari, females were forbidden from piloting ships or studying engineering. Such knowledge was considered beyond their simple minds. But Valeris had watched, learned, and practiced in secret. A loud bang echoed through the ship as a small asteroid struck their side. The impact threw the children to the floor. "Is everyone all right?" Valeris called, unable to look back as she navigated through the field. "Yes, Mother," Nima answered, already helping her sisters back to their seats. "But the oxygen level is dropping faster now." Valeris checked the ship's systems. The impact had damaged their already failing life support. They had perhaps 2 hours of breathable air left, not enough to reach any habitable system. "What happens if we run out of air?" Kira asked in a small voice. "That won't happen," Valeris promised, though she had no plan to keep that promise. She only knew she couldn't return to Zentari, not after what she had done. 3 days ago, officials had come to her dwelling. Her mate had died a year earlier in a mining accident, leaving her alone with 4 daughters. Under Zentari law, an incomplete family unit could not exist. Her daughters would be separated and placed with male-headed households. Valeris would be assigned to a new mate or sent to work in the factories. When they came for her children, something broke inside Valeris. She had struck the officials with a tool she had been hiding, grabbed her daughters, and fled to the maintenance bay where she worked cleaning ships. There, she stole this small vessel and escaped into space. Now, as she guided the ship deeper into the asteroid field, Valeris knew the Patriarchy would never stop hunting them. Females who broke the law were dangerous. Females who showed they could think, plan, and act independently threatened the very foundation of Zentari society. A blaring alarm cut through her thoughts. The ship's main engine was overheating. Valeris tried to reroute power, but the controls weren't responding. "Mother!" Mira called out. "Look." Valeris glanced at the view screen. Through a gap in the asteroids, she saw a ship unlike any she had ever seen. It was larger than their small vessel, but smaller than the Zentari warships. Its design was strange, with smooth lines and bright lights. "Aliens," she whispered. The Zentari had encountered other species before, but contact was limited and controlled. Ordinary citizens, especially females, were told little about the wider universe. The ship moved closer, seemingly untroubled by the asteroid field. "They're scanning us," Nima said, watching her screen. Valeris made a desperate decision. She activated the emergency beacon, something she had never done before. If the aliens were hostile, they would die. If they ignored the signal, they would die as their air ran out. The only hope was that these strangers might help. The ship's computer crackled with static, then a voice came through, speaking a language Valeris didn't understand. She responded in Zentari, knowing they wouldn't understand her either, but hoping they would recognize the desperation in her voice. "Please," she said. "My children. Help my children." More static, then the alien ship moved closer. A new alarm sounded as the engine finally failed completely. The ship began to drift, spinning slowly in the vacuum of space. "Mother, what's happening?" Tella cried, frightened by the darkness as emergency lights replaced the main power. "It's all right," Valeris soothed. moving from her seat to join her daughters. She gathered them close. "We just need to wait." Through the viewport, they watched as the alien ship grew larger. It was called the Northern Light, though Valeris couldn't read the strange symbols on its hull. Inside was Captain Lori Winters, who at that moment was making a decision that would change the course of two civilizations. "Life signs?" Captain Winters asked her crew as they hovered near the damaged vessel. "5," replied Diane Reed, the medical officer. "Their life support is critical. Maybe an hour left." "And those warships?" Winters asked, nodding toward the distant Zentari vessel still searching through the asteroid field. "Still hunting," confirmed her first officer. "Captain, protocols are clear. The Zentari are notoriously private about their affairs." "Non-interference is—" "They sent a distress call," Winters interrupted. "That overrides protocol." Inside the drifting ship, Valeris felt a strange sensation as a beam of light surrounded them. The children gasped as they began to float upward. "Hold on to each other," Valeris instructed, keeping her voice calm, though her heart raced with fear and hope. "Whatever happens, stay together." As the tractor beam pulled them toward the Northern Light, Valeris saw the Zentari warships change course, finally spotting them. But it was too late. The alien ship was already opening a hatch to receive them. The last thing Valeris saw before losing consciousness from oxygen deprivation was a figure in a strange suit reaching toward her. A human hand extended in help, not threat. On the bridge of the Northern Light, Captain Winters watched as her crew brought the aliens aboard. 5 females, reported Diane from the medical bay. 1 adult, 4 children. The adult is unconscious but stable. The children are frightened but unharmed. "And the Zentari ships?" Winters asked, demanding we return their citizens. "They're claiming this is an internal matter." Captain Winters looked at the view screen showing the approaching warships, then at the feed from the medical bay where 4 scared alien children huddled protectively around their unconscious mother. "Tell them we're rendering humanitarian assistance," Winters decided, "and prepare to jump to light speed." As the Northern Light accelerated away from the asteroid field with its unexpected passengers, none aboard could know they had just changed the destiny of 2 species forever. Valeris woke up slowly. The light hurt her eyes. The air smelled strange. She tried to sit up fast when she remembered her daughters. "Be calm," said a gentle voice. "Your children are safe." Valeris turned to see a pink-skinned alien watching her. The being wore a blue uniform with strange symbols on it. Her hair was the color of sand, tied back from her face. "I am Diane," the alien said, pointing to herself. She held up a small device. "This helps me understand your language." Valeris stared in wonder. She had never seen a human before, only heard rumors of the species that lived beyond Zentari space. "My daughters?" Valeris asked, her voice rough. "Come," Diane said, helping Valeris stand. Her legs felt weak. How long had she been asleep? They walked through a door into another room. There, Valeris saw her 4 daughters sitting with another human. This one had darker skin and short black hair. The human was showing the girls how to use a screen that displayed moving pictures. "Mother!" Tella cried when she saw Valeris. All 4 girls ran to her, wrapping their arms around her legs. "This is Kate," Diane explained, pointing to the other human. "She has been caring for your children while you recovered." "Thank you," Valeris said, looking from one human to the other. It felt strange to be treated with such kindness by aliens. On her world, even her own people rarely showed her respect. "The captain wants to meet you," Diane said. "When you feel ready." "Captain?" Valeris asked. "The leader of our ship. She has questions about why the Zentari ships were chasing you." Valeris felt cold fear in her stomach. If these humans returned her to the Zentari, her daughters would be taken away. She might be executed for her crimes. "I cannot go back," she said firmly. "They will hurt us," Diane nodded. The captain guessed as much. "But we need to understand what happened. The Zentari government is demanding your return." Valeris looked at her daughters, who watched her with worried eyes. Nima, always the brave one, spoke up. "We should tell them the truth, Mother. They saved us." An hour later, Valeris stood on the bridge of the Northern Light. It was much larger than the control room of the small ship she had stolen. Screens showed the stars outside and the workings of the ship. Humans sat at various stations, pressing buttons and speaking quietly. Captain Winters was not what Valeris expected. On Zentari, leaders were always large, imposing males who spoke loudly and demanded respect. This human female was shorter than Valeris. She wore the same uniform as the others, with only small differences to mark her rank. When she spoke, her voice was calm but firm. "Welcome aboard the Northern Light," Captain Winters said. "I'm Lori Winters. We're a mining vessel from Earth." Valeris had never heard of Earth but nodded politely. "Why were Zentari warships chasing your family?" the captain asked directly. Valeris took a deep breath. "I broke the law. I stole a ship. I hurt guards, but I had no choice. They were taking my daughters away." She explained Zentari society to the humans, how females were considered simple-minded, only good for raising children and doing basic work, how when her mate died, the law said her family was no longer complete, how her children would be given to different male-headed households, never to see each other or their mother again. "I could not let that happen," Valeris finished. Her hands clenched at her sides. Captain Winters listened without interrupting. When Valeris finished, she turned to a screen showing a message written in Zentari. "They call you criminals," she said. "They say you stole property and assaulted officials. They demand your immediate return." Valeris felt her heart sink. "And you will give us back?" Captain Winters looked at her for a long moment. "We have rules about interfering with other cultures," she said slowly. "But we also have rules about protecting those in danger." A new human entered the bridge. This one was tall with dark skin and curly hair. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, handing over a small device. "I'm Maya, head of information systems," she explained to Valeris. "I examined your ship's computer." Captain Winters looked at the device, her eyes widening. "Are you sure about this?" she asked Maya. "Yes. The files are encrypted but clearly contain military data, weapon designs, attack plans." All eyes turned to Valeris, who looked confused. "I don't understand." "I took nothing except the ship." Nima, who had been quietly standing beside her mother, stepped forward. "I did it," she said in a small but clear voice. "When the guards came to our home, Mother told us to pack quickly. I saw Father's old data chip, the one he hid before he died. He told me to keep it safe." Valeris stared at her daughter in shock. "Your father's research? You took it?" Nima nodded. "I put it in the ship's computer when you were busy with the engine." Captain Winters knelt down to look Nima in the eyes. "Do you know what was on that chip?" "Father said it was the truth, that the leaders were lying, that females were not simple-minded, that our people were once different." Maya stepped forward again. "There's more, Captain. The chip contains plans for a weapon, something that could destroy entire planets." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Valeris put her arm around Nima's shoulders. "My mate was a military engineer. He discovered things the leaders kept secret. That is why he died, not in a mining accident as they claimed." Captain Winters stood up, her face serious. "This changes everything. Earth needs to know about this weapon." "Captain," called another human from across the bridge. "Message from Earth Command. They're ordering us to return the Zentari refugees immediately. The Zentari government is threatening to cancel the trade agreement if we don't comply." Valeris felt her hope fading. Even these kind humans would not risk war for the sake of 5 refugees. She prepared herself to be handed back to her people. Captain Winters was quiet for a long moment, looking at Valeris and Nima. Then she looked at the screen showing the stars. "Send a message to Earth Command," she finally said. "Tell them we've encountered technical problems that require immediate attention. We'll be delayed in responding to their orders." She turned to Valeris. "I'm not sending you back, not yet. Not until we understand what's really happening here." For the first time since her mate died, Valeris felt a small spark of hope. Perhaps there was a place in this vast universe where she and her daughters could be free, where they could think and learn and live without fear. "Thank you," she said simply. Captain Winters nodded. "Don't thank me yet. We still have Zentari warships looking for us and my own government angry at me, but I believe your daughter is right. The truth is worth protecting." As the Northern Light changed course, heading deeper into space, Valeris watched the humans work together. Males and females, different colors and sizes, all respected for their skills. It was everything the Zentari leaders said was impossible. Everything she had always dared to believe might exist somewhere among the stars. The Northern Light moved through space quickly. Captain Winters had decided to take them somewhere safe, away from both the Zentari ships and Earth Command. Valeris stood by a large window, watching the stars streak by. She had never seen anything move so fast. It's called Lightspeed, said Kate, who had become a friend to Valeris and her daughters. Our engines can bend space to travel great distances. On Zentari, females are not allowed to study such things, Valeris said quietly. We are told our minds cannot understand them. Kate made a sound that Valeris had learned was called a snort. That's ridiculous. Your daughter Nima fixed our communications array yesterday. She understands technology better than half our crew. Pride filled Valeris's chest. In the 10 days since their rescue, her daughters had amazed the humans with their quick minds. Nima worked with Maya in information systems. The twins, Kira and Mira, spent hours in the ship's learning center, soaking up knowledge about plants, animals, and stars. Even little Tella had shown a talent for languages, already speaking simple human words. Where are we going? Valeris asked. Proxima Station, Kate replied. It's a research outpost built into an asteroid. Captain Winters has a friend there named Sam who might help us. And if this Sam says no? Kate's face grew serious. Then we're in trouble. Earth Command has ordered us 3 times to turn you over. The captain is risking her career, maybe even her freedom. Why would she do this for strangers? Because it's right, Kate said simply. And because what's on that data chip could change everything. Maya had spent days studying the information Nima had saved. It contained not just weapon plans but historical records, proof that Zentari society had once been different. Females and males had worked together as equals. The current system, with males controlling everything, was only a few thousand years old. Captain to all crew, Laurie's voice came through the ship's speakers. We're approaching Proxima Station. Prepare for docking procedures. Valeris gathered her daughters from their various activities around the ship. They met Captain Winters at the airlock as the ship connected with the station. Remember, the captain told them, Proxima Station isn't officially under Earth's control. It's a scientific outpost, independent. Sam runs it her way. Her? Valeris asked, surprised. Yes, Commander Samantha Ortiz. We served together years ago. She's not always easy to get along with, but she believes in freedom. The airlock opened with a hiss. On the other side stood a short, stocky human with gray-streaked black hair and a permanent frown. Laurie, she said, looking at the captain, you've really stepped in at this time. Hello to you too, Sam, Captain Winters replied with a small smile. We need your help. Sam's eyes moved to Valeris and her daughters. Zentari refugees. The whole system is looking for you. Earth Command. Zentari warships. You've caused quite a stir. They need protection, Captain Winters said. Just until we figure things out. Sam sighed heavily. Come in before someone sees you. Proxima Station has a reputation for minding its own business. I'd like to keep it that way. They followed Sam through the airlock into the station. It was different from the ship. Walls made of rough stone mixed with metal. Plants grew in containers along the corridors. People of different species walked past, some nodding at Sam, others looking curiously at the Zentari family. You allow non-humans here? Valeris asked, surprised. Knowledge doesn't care what color your skin is or how many eyes you have, Sam replied. Everyone who respects the rules is welcome. They entered a large room with a round table. Maps and charts covered the walls. Sam gestured for them to sit. Now, she said, looking directly at Valeris, tell me why I should risk my station for you. Valeris looked at Captain Winters, who nodded encouragingly. Taking a deep breath, Valeris began to explain. She told Sam about Zentari society, about her mate's death, about the officials coming to take her children. She explained how her people's leaders kept knowledge from females, how they punished those who tried to learn. Then Nima stepped forward, placing the data chip on the table. My father died for this, she said softly. He wanted everyone to know the truth. Sam picked up the chip, examining it with expert eyes. And what truth is that? That our society wasn't always this way, Valeris said. That females were once scientists, leaders, pilots. That males and females worked together. And, Captain Winters added, that the current Zentari leadership is building a weapon that could threaten every planet in this sector, including Earth. Sam's frown deepened. She inserted the chip into a device on the table. Images appeared in the air above them. Ancient Zentari text, diagrams, star maps. This will take time to analyze, she said, after studying the images for several minutes. I have scientists here who can help. So you'll let us stay? Captain Winters asked. Sam rubbed her forehead. Against my better judgment, yes. But there are conditions. You'll be restricted to certain areas. You'll work with our scientists. And at the first sign of trouble, you're gone. Thank you, Valeris said, bowing her head slightly. We will not cause problems. See that you don't, Sam replied, but her voice had softened slightly. Life on Proxima Station was very different from Zentari. Valeris and her daughters were given small but comfortable rooms. They were free to move around many parts of the station. Most importantly, they were allowed to learn. Valeris worked with the engineering team, showing them Zentari technology. She was surprised at how much she knew, how much she had absorbed over the years despite being forbidden to study. The human engineers treated her as an equal, asking her questions, respecting her answers. Her daughters flourished even more. Nima joined the information team, helping decode the data chip. The twins studied in the station school alongside children from 5 different species. Tella charmed everyone with her quick mind and curious questions. One evening, 3 weeks after their arrival, Valeris sat with Sam and Lori in the station's observation dome. Stars shone brilliantly around them with no atmosphere to dim their light. Your daughters are remarkable, Sam said, watching as the girls played a game with some station children nearby, especially for being raised in such a restrictive society. I taught them in secret, Valeris admitted. When my mate was alive, he helped. He believed the old stories about how Zentari used to be. The data is confirming those stories, Lori said. Maya and the science team have translated most of the historical records. Your society was once one of the most advanced in the sector. Males and females worked together as equals. What changed? Sam asked. Power, Valeris said simply. A group of military leaders took control during a war. They claimed females needed protection. Then they claimed females needed guidance. Then they claimed females were inferior. Each generation believed the lies more than the last. And now they're building a star-killer weapon, Lori added grimly. The technical plans are clear. If they finish it, they could destroy any planet that threatens their power. Including Earth? Sam asked. Lori nodded. We're their main competition for resources in this sector, and our culture, with males and females as equals, threatens their control over their own people. A loud alarm suddenly cut through their conversation. Red lights flashed throughout the station. Proximity alert, Sam said, jumping to her feet. Something's entered our sensor range. They rushed to the command center. Screen showed a small fleet of ships approaching the station. Zentari warships, Valeris whispered, fear gripping her hearts. They've found us. How? Lori demanded. We were careful. A station officer looked up from her console. They're hailing us. They say they're tracking an implant signal. All eyes turned to Valeris, who looked stunned. Implant? I have no implant. Mother, Nima said, stepping forward from where she had been working. Father put something in your necklace. The one he gave you before he died. He said it contained his love for you. What if it's more than that? Valeris touched the small pendant she always wore. This? But I've had it for years. It might have activated when you left Zentari space, Maya suggested. Or when we accessed the data chip. Whatever it is, they've found us, Sam said grimly. And they're demanding we turn you over immediately. The command center of Proxima Station buzzed with tense activity. On the main screen, 5 Zentari warships hung in space, their weapon systems active. The largest ship bore the symbol of the Grand Patriarch himself. They're demanding an answer, said Elena, the station's security chief. She was a tall woman with short red hair and a face that rarely smiled. They've given us 1 hour before they take necessary action. What can they do? Captain Winters asked. This station has defenses. Not against 5 warships, Sam replied grimly. We're a research station, not a military base. Valeris held her pendant in trembling fingers. Take it, she said, trying to remove the necklace. Destroy it. Then they can't track us. Maya scanned the pendant with a small device. It's not just a tracker. It's something more complex. The signal is encoded. She looked at Valeris with new respect. Your mate was a genius. This contains massive amounts of data. More weapon plans? Sam asked. No. Maya said slowly, her eyes widening as she read the scan results. It's genetic data. Cultural records, art, music, literature. It's your entire civilization's heritage. The parts they tried to erase. Valeris stared at the small pendant. All this time I carried this and never knew. Your husband must have known the leadership was destroying your people's true history, Captain Winters said. He preserved it the only way he could. Fascinating cultural discovery, Elena interrupted sharply. But we have 5 warships ready to blast us into dust in less than an hour. Sam paced the command center. Options. We need options. Wait, we could run, suggested one officer. Evacuate the station. No time to get everyone out, Sam replied. And they'd just hunt us down again. We could fight, Elena said, though even she looked doubtful. Use the station's defenses to buy time for Earth forces to arrive. Earth forces won't come, Captain Winters said bitterly. Not with the current trade agreements at stake. Valeris watched the humans argue, their faces tight with worry. These people had risked everything to help her family. Now they would pay the price for their kindness. Let me go to them, she said suddenly. All eyes turned to her. I will surrender myself. You can keep my daughter safe. No, Mother, Nima cried, rushing to her side. They'll execute you. Better one than all, Valeris said, stroking her daughter's face. You will survive. You will remember, Captain Winters shook her head. That's not an option. We didn't come this far to give up now. Maya, who had been quiet for several minutes, looked up from her device. There might be another way. She pointed to the pendant. This contains your people's true history. What if everyone knew it? What if every Zentari could see the truth? How? Sam demanded. We can't exactly send a message to their whole planet. No, Maya agreed. But we can send it to those ships. She pointed to the warships on the screen. The pendant is already transmitting on a Zentari frequency. If we boost the signal and change the data stream, we could send the historical records to every communication device on those ships. Valeris felt a flicker of hope. The truth. My mate always said the truth would free our people. It's a long shot, Elena warned. Even if it works, the ship's commanders could just order an attack anyway. But the crews might not obey, Captain Winters said thoughtfully. If they saw proof that their entire society was built on lies. Sam nodded slowly. It's worth trying. Maya, work with Valeris and Nima. Elena, prepare the station's defenses just in case. Everyone else continue evacuation preparations. As the others rushed to their tasks, Valeris hugged her 3 younger daughters. Go with Kate, she told them. Do as she says. Where are you going, Mother? Tella asked, her small blue face pinched with worry. To help fix things, Valeris said, forcing a smile. I'll see you soon. In the station's communications center, Maya, Nima, and Valeris worked frantically. They connected the pendant to the station's transmission system, boosting its signal strength. The data is immense, Maya said, looking at the scrolling information on her screen. Cultural records going back thousands of years. Scientific discoveries, art, music, and evidence of how the current leadership altered history. Nima's fingers flew over the control panel. I can program it to display the most important parts first. The proof that females were once leaders, scientists, warriors. Valeris watched her daughter work, amazed at her skill. On Zentari, Nima would never have been allowed to touch such technology. Her brilliant mind would have been wasted on simple household tasks. You are everything they said was impossible, Valeris told her daughter softly. You are the future they tried to prevent. Nima smiled at her mother. Father always said I was like you, strong, smart. 10 minutes left, Maya warned, checking the countdown. The transmission system is ready. On the command deck, Sam and Captain Winters watched the Zentari ships. A new message appeared on their screen, the face of a stern Zentari male with elaborate facial markings denoting high rank. I am Grand Patriarch Kozal, he announced. You harbor criminals and possess stolen Zentari property. Surrender them immediately or face destruction. Sam stepped forward. This is Commander Samantha Ortiz of Proxima Station. We rescued refugees in distress, as is our duty under interstellar law. Females are property under Zentari law. Kozal replied coldly. Return them and the data they stole. This is your final warning. The screen went dark. Sam looked at Captain Winters. Pleasant fellow? 5 minutes, Captain Winters said, checking the time. I hope Maya's plan works. In the communications center, everything was ready. The pendant hung in a special chamber, connected to the station's powerful transmitters. On my mark, Maya said, her finger hovering over the activation button. 3, 2, 1. Transmit. The pendant glowed brightly as its data began flowing through the station systems, amplified 1,000 times. On their screens, they could see the signal reaching the Zentari ships. It's working, Nima cried. They're receiving the data! For several tense minutes, nothing seemed to happen. The Zentari ships remained in position, weapons still aimed at the station. Then suddenly something changed. One of the smaller ships began moving, breaking formation. "What's happening?" Valeris asked, watching the screen. "I don't know," Maya replied. "But look, another ship is moving too." On the command deck, Sam and Captain Winters watched in amazement as two Zentari ships repositioned themselves, no longer pointing their weapons at the station. "We're receiving a transmission," Elena reported, not from the command ship, from one of the others. A new face appeared on the screen, a younger Zentari male, his expression intense. "Proxima Station, this is Sub-Commander Tenril of the cruiser Daybreak. We have received your transmission. Is it true? Are these really our ancient records?" "Yes," Sam replied cautiously. "Historical and cultural data preserved by a Zentari engineer before his death." "The Grand Patriarch is ordering us to attack," Tenril said, his voice urgent. "But many of us, we've seen the records. We've seen the truth. There are those among us who have questioned the teachings for generations." "Then don't attack," Captain Winters urged. "Stand with the truth." "It's not so simple," Tenril replied. "The Grand Patriarch's ship still controls the fleet." "But The transmission cut off abruptly. On the screen they saw the Grand Patriarch's ship fire on Tenril's vessel. The smaller ship rocked from the impact but quickly returned fire. "They're fighting each other," Elena said in disbelief. The command center fell silent as they watched the space battle unfold. 3 smaller Zentari ships now fought against the Grand Patriarch's vessel, and 1 loyal cruiser. Energy weapons flashed across the void. 1 small ship exploded in a burst of light. "This is terrible," Valeris whispered, watching from the communications center. "They're dying because of me." "No," Nima said firmly. "They're fighting for the truth. For freedom, just like Father did." The battle continued for nearly an hour. When it finally ended, the Grand Patriarch's ship drifted powerless, its weapons destroyed. 2 of the smaller ships were damaged but operational. The loyal cruiser had retreated into deep space. A new transmission came through to Proxima Station. It was Tenril again, his face now streaked with blood from a head wound. "The Grand Patriarch has been detained," he announced. "We request permission to dock at your station for emergency repairs and discussions." Sam looked at Captain Winters, then at Valeris, who had joined them on the command deck. "What do you think?" she asked the Zentari female. "Can we trust them?" Valeris studied Tenril's face on the screen. "He has fought against his own leaders for the truth." "Yes, I believe we can trust him," Sam nodded. "Permission granted, Sub-Commander, but approach slowly and power down your weapon systems first." As the Zentari ships moved toward the docking bays, Captain Winters turned to Valeris. "You understand what's happening, don't you? This is revolution, the beginning of change for your entire society." Valeris looked at her 4 daughters, who stood together watching the ships approach, young females who had tasted freedom and knowledge for the first time. "Yes," she said quietly, "a new beginning, but also a return to what we once were." 6 months passed quickly. Valeris stood on the observation deck of Earth's United Nations spaceport, watching ships arrive and depart. Behind her, the blue-green planet stretched beautiful and vast. She had never imagined she would see such a world. "Nervous?" asked Lori, who stood beside her. The former captain of the Northern Light now wore the uniform of an admiral, with new badges of rank on her shoulders. "Yes," Valeris admitted. "I never expected to see my people again. At least not as anything but a prisoner. Today was important. The first official delegation from what was now, called the Reformed Zentari, coalition would arrive at Earth. This historic meeting would establish formal relations between humans and Zentari for the first time. You helped make this happen," Lori reminded her. "Without you and your daughters, none of this would be possible." Much had changed in 6 months. After the battle at Proxima Station, news of the ancient records spread quickly through Zentari space. Sub-Commander Tenril and his allies had used the station's powerful transmitters to broadcast the truth to all Zentari ships and colonies. The revolution was not peaceful. The Grand Patriarch and his loyalists fought hard to maintain power. The civil war still raged in distant parts of Zentari space, but the tide had turned. More and more Zentari joined the reformers each day, especially the younger generation. "Mother, they're coming," called Nima, rushing onto the observation deck. At 13 cycles now, she had grown taller. She wore the blue uniform of Earth's Academy of Sciences, where all 4 of Valeris's daughters now studied. Valeris looked up to see a Zentari ship entering Earth's atmosphere. It was sleek and elegant, unlike the warships that had chased her family so long ago. "It's time," Lori said. They walked together to the main reception hall where Earth officials waited to greet the Zentari delegation. Valeris found herself standing in a line of honor beside Lori. Sam, Maya, Kate, Elena, and other humans who had helped during the crisis at Proxima Station. Her daughters stood proudly nearby with their academy classmates. The doors opened. The Zentari delegation entered, 6 males and 6 females walking side by side as equals. Valeris felt tears in her eyes at the sight. Such a thing would have been unthinkable a year ago. Leading the delegation was Tenril, now bearing the title of Coalition Director. Beside him walked a female scientist named Nea, who Valeris recognized from her own education center years ago. Nea had been one of the few females allowed to study limited sciences in order to assist male researchers. The delegation approached the Earth officials. Formal words of greeting were exchanged. Treaties were signed. Promises of cooperation were made. Then Tenril turned and saw Valeris. Recognition flashed in his eyes. He approached her, bowing deeply in the ancient Zentari way, a gesture of respect that had been forbidden to use toward females for generations. "Valeris," he said, his voice carrying through the hall, "our people owe you a great debt. You and your daughters showed us the truth." "I only carried what my mate preserved," Valeris replied softly. "He is the one who deserves your thanks." "Your mate's name has been added to the Hall of Remembrance," Tenril told her. "The first of many truths we will restore." Another member of the delegation approached. Valeris stiffened as she recognized him. Morek, a scientist who had once publicly humiliated her when she dared to ask a question during a lecture her mate had brought her to. Morek did not meet her eyes. His face showed shame. "I have come to ask forgiveness," he said. "I was wrong. We were all wrong. Females are not lesser beings. The evidence is undeniable." Valeris looked at him for a long moment. "It is not easy to question what you have been taught all your life," she finally said. "There is hope in the fact that you can change." Morek bowed and stepped back. Nea came forward next, her eyes bright with excitement. "The Coalition Council requests your return to Zentari space," she said. "Your knowledge, your experiences, they would be invaluable as we rebuild our society." Valeris hesitated. She looked at her daughters, now talking animatedly with young Earth scientists. She looked at Lori and the other humans who had become her friends. "My place is with my daughters now," she said, "and they are thriving here. Perhaps someday we will return, but for now our home is Earth." Nea nodded in understanding. "The choice is yours. That too is part of our new way." The formal reception continued for hours. Valeris watched as humans and Zentari cautiously began to form connections. Scientists exchanged ideas. Leaders discussed cooperation. Young people from both species seemed to find it easiest to talk and laugh together. Later that evening, Valeris walked in the spaceport gardens with Lori. The artificial sky above them showed Earth's moon and stars. "Earth Command has officially closed the case against me," Lori said with a smile. "Apparently saving an entire species from civil war and preventing an interstellar conflict makes up for disobeying some orders." "I'm glad," Valeris replied. "You risked everything for us." "It was the right thing to do," Lori said simply. "Speaking of right things, have you heard the latest news from Zentari space? 3 more patriarchy strongholds have fallen to the reformers. The old ways are crumbling faster than anyone expected." "It's not surprising," Valeris said. "The old ways were built on lies. Once people see the truth, they cannot unsee it." They stopped by a small plot of earth where Valeris had planted a seed from her homeworld. A tiny blue shoot had already pushed through the soil, reaching toward the artificial light. "Will you ever go back?" Lori asked, watching as Valeris gently touched the small plant. "To visit, perhaps. To show my daughters their heritage." Valeris looked up at the stars visible through the clear dome. "But our future is here now. The academy director tells me Nima is the top student in her engineering class," Lori said proudly. "And the twins have already been accepted into the Advanced Sciences program for next year. And Tella charms everyone with her languages," Valeris added with a smile. "She speaks 5 Earth tongues now, besides Zentari and Common Trade. They will change the universe." "Those daughters of yours," Lori said. "They already have," Valeris replied softly. They walked back inside the spaceport building. In a large meeting room, humans and Zentari were still talking. Among them was Nima, explaining something to a group of Zentari scientists who listened to her with respect and interest. "Mother," Tella called, running over to Valeris. "Tenril says I can be an ambassador when I'm older if I want. He says I have the right spirit for bringing people together. You can be anything you wish, little one," Valeris told her, stroking her daughter's head ridges affectionately. Later that night, after the Zentari delegation had returned to their ship and the humans to their homes, Valeris sat with her 4 daughters in their apartment. Through the window they could see Earth's real moon shining brightly. "Are you sad, Mother?" Mira asked, noticing Valeris's quiet mood. "Not sad," Valeris replied. "Just thinking about how much has changed. 1 year ago, we were hiding on Zentari, afraid to show our true selves. Now look at us. Father would be proud," Nima said confidently. "Yes," Valeris agreed. He dreamed of a day when knowledge would be free for all Zentari again, when females and males would work together as they once did. "And it's happening," Kira added. "Tenril says that new schools are opening on Zentari. Females and males learning together." Valeris nodded. "A new beginning. Or perhaps a return to an older, better way." "Will we ever live on Zentari again?" Tella asked. "This is our home now," Valeris told her. "But someday when you're older you can choose where you wish to live. That's the most important thing. You have choices now. Futures that no one can take from you." As her daughters prepared for sleep, Valeris stood by the window. In the distance, she could see the lights of the spaceport where the Zentari delegation's ship rested. Tomorrow they would return to Zentari space, carrying news of Earth and humanity, carrying stories of Valeris and her daughters. Lori joined her at the window, having stopped by to say goodnight. "What are you thinking about?" the human asked. Valeris touched the pendant at her neck, the one that had contained her people's true history and had helped spark a revolution. "On Zentari, they said we were worthless without a male to guide us," she said quietly. "It was in every lesson we learned from childhood. In every law, in every custom. They were wrong," Lori said firmly. "Yes," Valeris agreed. "And now my daughters will never believe that lie. They know their own worth." She turned to look at Lori, her friend who had risked everything to save them. "You gave my children a future, human." Lori shook her head with a smile. "No, Valeris. You gave them that future when you refused to accept the limits others placed on you. All I did was provide a little space for you to do what you already knew how to do." Outside, a shooting star streaked across Earth's night sky. Inside, 4 young Zentari females slept peacefully, their minds full of dreams that no one could limit or control. And Valeris, once considered worthless without a male to guide her, stood tall, a mother, an engineer, a refugee, a revolutionary, and now in her own quiet way. A bridge between 2 worlds. The universe, it seemed, was wider and more full of possibilities than either species had imagined.